evening. I'm Joy Behar, sitting in for Elliot Spitzer this week. Tonight we're talking politics, pop culture, and how to get over your past. That'll be interesting. First, we'll talk politics. Florida Senator Marco Rubio was the odds-on favorite to be Mitt Romney's VP pick, remember? Now it looks like he's not even on the list. What happened? Here to discuss actor and activist Janeane Garofalo and politics blogger Craig Crawford. Welcome to the show, you guys. Good to see you, Craig. I see you on a lot of other shows.
I see you.
I always
here and
think
there.
you're terrific. Yeah. So, who is Marco Rubio? I mean, what was the big attraction to him? There was a lot of like flurry around
because
him.
he's they calculated, I guess, he'd be appealing to Latino voters,
and now
the Tea Party likes him.
It's kind of complicated though, because he's Cuban, are not necessarily appealing to all Latino voters. There's a lot of division between Cuban voters, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans. So it's not a natural appeal, actually.
Well, there isn't, because the Cubans actually, they had an easy time getting here because we were so angry with Fidel Castro.
But
for
he
so
also
many years.
lied about when his parents came and why. You know, he
Yeah.
claimed his parents were fleeing Castro's communism,
and then
but
threw them under the bus.
Right, but they really came earlier during the Batista regime. You know, but
why would he say that?
Because he wants them to see
anti-communist. He
Yeah,
basically said his parents lied to him. He threw his parents under the bus. That's how he got out of it.
Yeah,
that's interesting. So you think his parents did lie to him, or did he make that up so that he could move ahead?
Oh, I don't know. I have no way of knowing. But I would assume, since he's a Republican, he's making a political calculation cynically to appeal to certain voters in Miami and Florida. And
so why did they
nature.
drop him? Why do you think?
I don't know if they have.
I think they're going to. They're not vetting him.
You know, he was even.
No,
he
they're
was
not vetting him because
too.
of his financial.
He was
background.
a Mormon when he was a kid.
Really? A Cuban Mormon?
Yeah.
That's a new one.
Oh, maybe that might be why they're staying away from him, because of the Mormon Mitt Romney. But it wasn't it he who was reticent because of his financial disclosures. He wasn't willing to fill out certain questions about his financial background, much like Mitt Romney is.
And mainly, you know, Romney's not going to make a risky choice. That's just not in his nature. He's not going to pick somebody who hasn't been fully vetted, who hasn't been around a while. I mean, Rubio's just not been on the scene long enough.
Let me ask a rude question. Do you think that the fact that he's not, that he's Hispanic in some sort, even though it's Cuban, I'm not exactly sure what the definition is, Latino, Cuban, Hispanic is Cuban, what is it? But he's not, you know, one of Romney's group, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
It's like I said, he's been called the Crown Prince of the Tea Party, which to me, that would be the first check that's not a guy you want. But they're going to do, I guess, whatever the Koch brothers tell them to do. I don't know. Mitt Romney doesn't answer a question or make a move until his backers tell him what to say. And if they want Mark Rubio, I guess they'll go with Mark Rubio, or they'll go, well, who's that guy that nominated himself sort of in a Cheney-esque way? Bob, like whatever, he looks like a game show host as well.
Portman?
Like, no, he has I'm so sorry, the name just went out of my head. Never mind.
Bob something?
What?
Bob.
No, Bob Barker.
There he
That's
is.
No, but he's too animal friendly. Can't have Bob Barker. He likes dogs too much, so you can't have him on Mitt Romney's ticket.
Okay, now here's something that happened that was interesting. You know, the Times reports that people overheard Mayor Bloomberg say that he preferred Romney to Obama. He said that Romney would run the country better. But he said he wouldn't vote for him. This is like overheard type of, thing. But it's in the Times, so we have to give it some legitimacy.
Well, maybe he'd rather.
All right, well, I'm going to.
He'd rather play golf. He'd rather play golf with Romney than.
No. He said he would run the country better, but he wouldn't vote for him because he doesn't agree with him on social issues like abortion and and immigration. First of all, why would Bloomberg say that about Romney?
Well, we don't know that he did. The word overheard is what just deflates. That's more speculative. Like, when Howard Feynman goes on these shows and said, I'm hearing on the Hill. Anyone can say that. I could be a pundit on, for that matter, if that's how you're going to do it. Overheard, or this is what they're saying, or an operative
I don't think it matter much, if he endorsed him. I don't think Bloomberg is even that well known outside
of New York.
I mean, they might recognize him, but I don't think they know that much about him.
And New Yorkers are going for Obama. There's no
and right now, what little people know outside New York is that he wants to ban those big gulps.
Right.
Well, you would expect people with a lot of money, like Bloomberg and Wall Street, people to vote for Romney anyway, right? He's going to make them richer and richer, so why not?
I have no idea. Again, the overheard thing, I don't know. Just like the alleged, that fake story that Giuliani the overheard story that allegedly Giuliani on 9/11 stood on the street and said, "Thank God George Bush is president," but it didn't say that. There's, you know,
How do you know he didn't say it?
Oh, come on.
What?
It's just one of those things that was allegedly overheard to feed into a Republican narrative. I just doubt that you're standing watching the chaos and the thing you're going to utter to the
with all the cell phone cameras out there, surely somebody would pick it up and not just have to hear it.
According to you, unless there's videotape, you don't believe it.
No, what I'm saying is it's difficult for me to jump on the bandwagon with an overheard thing. And then we're just as bad as a, you know,
that's what we call hearsay.
As a tabloid.
Then there's this. Mitt Romney's been telling this joke about his wife as he campaigns. Watch.
She cares very deeply about this sport and about horses. I joke that I'm going to have to send her to Betty Ford for addiction to horses.
Mitt Romney's been telling this joke as he campaigns about his wife. You know, she cares very deeply about the sport. And how many people know what a dressaging horse is?
And can you fit it on the top of a car roof?
I suppose anybody who watches Colbert now knows about dressage.
But it's a little bit clueless to think that, you know, if you own a horse, which, you know, a horse has to cost $250,000. Then there are the people who have to groom the horse. Then there's the plane that has to fly the horse. Then you have to do other things you have with a horse. You have to take it to dinner. God knows what you have to do with a horse.
That's more trouble than a boat.
He's already sort of like out of the mainstream with people as too rich and too elitist. You know, and they did this to Kerry. Excuse me, Kerry. Does this guy have any idea how bad this is coming off?
Well, first of all, every leader of this country, I'm assuming, since the beginning of our electoral system, is wealthy. That's part of it. It's nothing new. They always trot this narrative out every. So-and-so is so rich they're out of touch. Now there's been Bill Clinton. Wait, I was going to say Bill Clinton and Barack Obama did come from you know, economically challenged backgrounds. That's the aberration.
In today's dollars, George Washington was worth $50 billion.
Exactly. He was a very wealthy man.
But he was land poor, actually.
But they were slave rich.
But, you know, for Republicans, it's an elastic narrative. It's always fine when they do it. It's never fine when the other guy does it. And, you know, the horse thing, you know, I always joke with him. First of all, he's probably never said that before to her. Somebody just said, say this thing about the Betty Ford Clinic. And clearly, as you know, he's not a good stand-up. Mitt Romney's terrible. Have you seen him at open mic nights up at the Improv?
At Bananas?
At the Funny Bone chain. He's terrible.
No,
he's very stiff. He doesn't connect with the audience.
See if you can get him on the amateur comic contest on The View.
That's right. The other thing about this guy is that he doesn't want to go anywhere. Like with the fact that he was on Bob Schieffer the other day was like, wow, he's come out of his cocoon of the Fox network. I mean, he doesn't want to come. I haven't seen him any indication that he's coming on The View. You know, I haven't heard that he's coming on my show, which airs in September, which will start. I don't think he's coming there.
Well, Fox is protection, right? It's all softball. And also, he's run a campaign that's unlike a lot of others. It's just this thing that doesn't have to reach out.
And he goes on Clear Channel radio stations because Bain Capital owns Clear Channel, which is Sean Hannity's
He
channel.
plays it safe, and he's hoping that no one's going to ask him a question that he can't answer. He skirts around. He never really answers the question. Okay, let's do some more on Ann Romney, because she was on Detroit radio show Monday, and she had this exchange comparing the Obamas to her family. I like this.
If you become First Lady, are you going to go on all these vacations like the current inhabitants of the White House are?
I doubt that. You know, our vacations and our happiness comes from being with our children and our grandchildren. And, you know, we have our own places that we do that, and I'm assuming that we'll be doing the same. When we take a vacation, we'll be taking it with our children and grandchildren.
Okay, first of all, they have 6 houses. That's A. That's A. So they're certainly vacationing.
So they just go from house to house.
They're going with their children. Secondly, I believe the Obamas have 2. Has it been 2 vacations?
And only one without his family.
Yeah.
That he's taken.
And if you've ever seen presidents on vacation, it's not what we think of as vacation.
I'm sure it's a working
they get about
vacation.
3
Except for
hours
George
of rest,
Bush, who didn't want to be bothered on all the vacations.
Well, Ronald Reagan really did take vacations.
So did George Bush. He was always
out. Right, because Republicans get to do whatever they want. And also, you know, are you going to take the disrespect? Are you going to take all the vacations like the other inhabitants of the way, you know, just the utter disrespect, and you don't have
like
6
the current
homes.
Inhabitants of the White House.
Right, can't say their names. You know,
like they're going to evict them.
Just the utter disrespect for the Obamas.
I've noticed that there's a certain amount of disrespect for President Obama that I haven't seen before.
Well, he's black.
Is that the reason? Because
what for the racists in the Republican Party, the conservative movement, and for the racists in the country, yes, that's where it
there
comes
was
from.
an
It's
awful lot
racially
of it
motivated.
aimed at Clinton, though. I mean,
Yes,
although he
of
was the
course,
first black president.
he's a Democrat, so there's going to be a certain amount leveled at a Democrat. But this is different. There is the outhouse at the outside of the state GOP convention they had this weekend, bullet-riddled outhouse.
I didn't even know
outside
about that.
the doors of the.
The Rose Garden was the latest incident with that guy from the Daily Caller, I think it's called.
And then there were guys saying you lie.
No one ever did that to a president before.
Absolutely.
You lie.
I think,
I've never
I think
heard of
there is
that.
more from the actual elected officials and people in institutions but out on the street, the protests, the sign. I remember the posters comparing Bush to Hitler.
Oh, don't even try and conflate this. This is different, and the denial of the racism is bizarre to me. You know, racism is part of the fabric of our country and many other countries since the beginning of time. It would be odd if there was no racism going on now. If you track the Southern Poverty Law Center and other ACLU and other institutions that track hate crimes, racist, hate mail, all this kind of stuff, it has spiked through the roof since he announced that he was going to run.
Yeah, politically, it really does not help them politically. That's the thing, is because he is personally popular. No matter what his approval on the economy or anything, people actually do like him in pretty high numbers. And so when they're attacking him personally, they're attacking the one thing the public actually is agreed on.
But they're not talking to the public. They're talking to their base, and they're talking to their leaders.
But it's not helping.
The thing about it, Janeane, is that, you know, when Bush was in office and I was doing stand-up, I was all over him, and I would make cracks about him all the time. But if I was sitting with him, I would not be disrespectful. I think that that's the difference. It's like, yeah, we can talk about them whatever, any way we want when we're talking about them, because it's a free country, and that's my First Amendment. But you have a certain amount of respect for the office and for the person when he is actually in the room with you. That's where they've gone over the line.
Right. And there's a big difference between criticizing George Bush and the things he did and criticizing Barack Obama. George Bush was certainly very criticism appropriate
worthy
for a lot of things he did. Now, Barack Obama has done a lot of things I would criticize as well. This is different, and I don't understand why so many people are reticent to discuss race in this country. We are not a post-racial society.
No, not yet. Not in our lifetime.
No, and I'm sure we probably never will be, and we are not post-misogyny either. If
There's no country in the world that's post-racial, I don't think.
No, until the human condition changes, we won't be.
And that's not coming along so fast. But thank you very much, you guys. Craig Crawford, Janeane Garofalo. Lovely to have you here on my second day sitting in for Mr.
Lovely to be here.
Congratulations.
Yes. Now, next thing, if you're poor, why would you vote for a Republican? It's an abusive relationship. Get out now. Tommy Frank and I will discuss this next. Stay there.